Welcome back to Hardball. This should be a joy for some. For years, conservatives have been warning that liberals are looking to take down the country. They say that military dictatorship, tyranny, and communist domination are inevitable if you elect liberals. And it's been the same old lines for decades and have been wrong each and every time. But the same rhetoric prevails again. It continues. Here's Tom Tancredo with the same old line last week.
I firmly believe this. It's not just, sort of a dramatic statement that a person would make to get press or something or ink. I believe this with all my heart. That the greatest threat to the United States today, the greatest threat to our liberty, the greatest threat to the Constitution of the United States, the greatest threat to our way of life, everything we believe in, the greatest threat to the country that was put together by the Founding Fathers is the guy that is in the White House today.
And you'll note he said he didn't do this to get publicity. We're now joined by David Corn, the Washington editor of Mother Jones and a columnist for PoliticsDaily.com. And also we've got the editor of Salon.com, Joan, you'll notice that Mr. Tancredo, the former congressman, said purposely at the front there, I'm not doing this to get ink in the newspapers. But there he is. What did he say? This is the worst threat to humanity, to this country, and its history, and it's all the president. This guy in the White House is more dangerous than Al-Qaeda.
It's disgusting.
What is this?
It's disgusting, but, we wouldn't be talking about him otherwise. He's out of Congress. He was a failed, desperately failed presidential candidate. He's really meaningless in terms of the public discourse, except he's found this rabid right set of believers and devotees, Chris, and he's making money. He's out there on the stump talking
Can't be
this
making
crap.
that much.
Well, I don't know.
Can he be making that much to say this nonsense? Okay, good. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'll check on his speaking fees.
Okay, let me ask. I'm doing this for a reason, Mr. Corn, and the reason is I want to pull the string off the bottom of these trousers and show that this just keeps going until there's nothing there. It just continues. Here it is. A few days ago, Rush Limbaugh claimed the problem is inside the White House. I can't imitate him completely. Whoa, let's watch.
I think we face something we've never faced before in the country, and that is we're now governed by people who do not like the country, who do not have the same reverence for it that we do. Our greatest threat, and this is saying something, is internal. Now, we have plenty of external threats, enemies across oceans, but we got a threat inside as well.
Well, there's the lower tone he goes. I mean, this dark threat to humanity. America is being threatened from within.
Yeah, it's not quite Joe McCarthy, but he's working on it. I mean, how can Barack Obama not like America? He's doing pretty well by America. But, it's not just Rush Limbaugh who's not elected or Tom Tancredo, who doesn't have a job anymore. Michelle Bachmann, your old pal, said the
Don't you think I've got her in the queue here? She's coming up in a second here.
She said Obama is turning us into a nation of slaves.
Okay, yes, you just gave us. This is known as a roll cue. And now we go back because we're going to take a look at Michelle Bachmann, because this is the thread. I'm pulling off the trousers. This is the way they talk and have talked for decades. We're going back in history. Here's Michelle Bachmann on our mystery tour heading backwards. And how many people in the Congress of the United States do you think are anti-American? You've already suspected Barack Obama. Is he alone or are there others? How many do you suspect of your colleagues as being anti-American?
What I would say is that the news media should do a penetrating expose and take a look. I wish they would. I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America? I think people would love to see an expose like that.
Joan.
She's Joe McCarthy.
Have you done your homework? Have you been working on this expose?
I have been working on it.
She gave you this job.
Ever since I saw her. I was in my office. I remember the day that aired, Chris. I've been on it ever since. And my conclusion is Michelle Bachmann, is Joe McCarthy in lipstick. That's who she is.
I'm up to 57. I found 57. I mean, the question that you should put to her is, what's anti-American? Right. Because that's really what we're arguing about here. She has she's taking political, policy, ideological, cultural differences and saying, if you're not with me, you're an enemy of the state, which is what Rush said in that clip from the other day, too. Right. Now, we can laugh about it. It's silly, it's wrong, it's idiotic. It's also dangerous.
It is
because
dangerous.
while I don't expect Michelle Bachmann or Rush Limbaugh to do anything too ballsy or gutsy about this, there are people who follow them, who take what they say seriously, although they shouldn't.
You mean with Second Amendment remedies?
Second Amendment remedies.
Yeah.
You know, gathering an army. And people are going to say, if there's an enemy of the state in the White House or on this set or in Congress, people may take drastic actions. That's what you do when traitors take over.
I'm waiting for senators to start walking on the Senate floor with arms because their uniforms. These people are getting pretty far. But let's take a look at Governor George Wallace, just to show how far this thread goes back. It's not funny. You're right. Yeah. This is the charge of anti-Americanism and totalitarianism. They charge everything. Anybody slightly to their left is evil and the enemy at the gate. Here he is, George Corley Wallace.
We are winning in this fight because we are awakening the American people to the dangers that we have spoken about so many times, which is so evident today, the trend toward military dictatorship in this country.
And you know what the dictatorship was? Letting a couple black kids get into the University of Alabama.
Yes.
That was the horror story.
Well, you know,
now they've got the what do they call it? The best athletes at that university. They got the best. They have the I don't know, the prom queen and everything else down there's changed. It's not exactly become anti-American down there. It's a more popular place than ever. This fear factor, again, back to you, Joan. Fear, totalitarian, and all it was integration by Americans who've been in this country 200 or 300 years longer than George Wallace's family.
Well, here's the great thing about our country, Chris. Every reform movement has, whether it's African Americans, it's women, it's labor organizers, going back to FDR, going back beyond FDR, but any reform movement that seeks to make life better and share things and take the rough edges off capitalism is blessed with our Constitution and with our traditions, which let them say, we are a better people, we believe in equality, and we're going to do this because we're Americans. And these people fight back by saying it's anti-American. And, you know, I mean, I don't
Ronald Reagan ended up being a center-right president, but before he was a center-right president, he was he was a propagandist. Here he was back in a message in 1961, largely on behalf of the AMA, trashing what became Medicare. This is what the horror story. He's warning us against Medicare, which every conservative now benefits from.
Right.
Back in 61, let's watch.
Write those letters now, call your friends and tell them to write them. If you don't, this program, I promise you, will pass just as surely as the sun will come up tomorrow. And behind it will come other federal programs that will invade every area of freedom as we have known it in this country. Until, one day, as Norman Thomas said, we will awake to find that we have socialism. And if you don't do this, and if I don't do it, one of these days, you and I are going to spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Well, that was a warning about Medicare.
Ronald Reagan was wrong. What he predicted did not come
Well, he ended up administering the Medicare program for 8 years.
Yes. And he also, expanded some health and welfare programs in California when he became governor a few years after that. He was wrong. But now, almost 50 years later, we have Sarah Palin aping those words. We have Representative Marsha Blackburn, Republican from Tennessee, going on the House floor when they're debating health care and saying, today is the death of freedom.
I want to be somewhat fair. Right. Let me start with Joan and then you, David. Why can't the center right and the right simply say that Barack Obama is to their left? He's a social democrat. He is much more believing in a bigger safety net than we do. It's a matter of margins. It's a matter of degree. It's not the end of the world. Why don't they talk like that?
Because then Americans would agree with Barack Obama, because most Americans support, in every poll, Chris, we've got some polarization right now, but in every poll, even right now, they want more spending on jobs, which more than Obama is willing to spend. If they simply said he's a social democrat, he would like to smooth the rough edges of our wonderful capitalist system, we disagree, they would lose. They know that what they have to do is demonize him and terrify Americans about him, and it doesn't hurt. It's not irrelevant that he's black. It's not irrelevant that he's black.
Well, we'll keep getting to that throughout this program. Thank you, David Corn. Thank you, Joan Walsh.